Imagine a wall of water, hundreds of feet high, held back by nothing but concrete and steel. It's a force so immense, so powerful, that it's almost impossible to comprehend. For years, these walls have stood as symbols of human ingenuity and control over nature. Behind them, entire lakes, vast reservoirs of water, wait in silent tension, their potential energy contained by human engineering. But what happens when that barrier fails? In a single terrifying instant, all that water is unleashed, surging forward with unstoppable force. That's the terrifying reality of a dam collapse, and in recent years, it's been happening with shocking frequency in China, a country that has more dams than any other nation on Earth. When these disasters strike, entire cities can be swallowed in minutes. Streets become rivers, cars are tossed like toys, and the very foundations of daily life are washed away in the chaos. This isn't a disaster movie. It's the nightly news unfolding in real time, with millions watching in horror as their homes and livelihoods are swept away. Hundreds of dams have been compromised or destroyed, unleashing violent, high-speed waves that obliterate everything in their path. Homes, farms, factories, and entire communities. Roads and bridges, painstakingly built over decades, can disappear within hours. The infrastructure that connects people and sustains economies is left in ruins. The suddenness is deadly. There's often no time for warning or escape. Families are forced to flee in the dead of night, grabbing only what they can carry as the water rises around them. The flood transforms familiar landscapes into seas of destruction, leaving heartbreak, loss, and ruin in its wake. Neighborhoods that once bustled with life are reduced to debris-strewn wastelands. This is about more than water. It's about the fragility of the systems we build to control it. The very structures meant to protect us can become the source of our greatest vulnerability. For decades, China built tens of thousands of dams to power its growth, generate electricity, and tame its mighty rivers. These projects were seen as triumphs of progress and modernity. But now, many of those very structures are aging, neglected, or poorly maintained, turning from symbols of progress into sources of immense peril. Why is this happening now? What does it mean for the millions who live in the shadow of these concrete giants, always aware that disaster could strike at any moment? The answers reveal a crisis that's as much about human ambition and engineering hubris as it is about nature's unpredictable fury. It's a story of rapid development, climate change, and the limits of control. The bill for decades of rapid dam construction is coming due. As weather grows more extreme and infrastructure ages, the risks multiply. The question is, can China and the world adapt in time? Can we reinforce, repair, and rethink our relationship with water before the next wall breaks and tragedy strikes again? The stakes have never been higher. The future depends on what we do next. One dam failure is catastrophic, but in China, the real nightmare is the domino effect. When a single dam gives way, it's not just a local disaster. It's the first falling tile in a chain reaction that can spiral out of control, threatening millions of lives and vast stretches of land. Dams are often built in series along the same river, forming parallel reservoir groups. This interconnected design is meant to maximize water storage, generate power, and control floods. But it also means that the fate of each dam is tied to the others, creating a delicate balance that can be easily upset. If an upstream dam fails, it sends a massive surge downstream, slamming into the next dam. The force of this sudden flood is far greater than what the downstream dam was designed to handle, putting immense pressure on its structure in a matter of minutes. That dam, already stressed by heavy rains and rising water levels, can't withstand the extra force, and it fails too. The situation escalates rapidly, with each dam in the chain becoming more vulnerable as the floodwaters grow. Each collapse adds more water to the flood, creating a chain reaction of destruction. The energy and volume of water compound with every failure, making the disaster exponentially worse with each passing moment. This cascading failure can turn a single disaster into an apocalyptic event, flooding areas far beyond any one dam's reach. Entire towns and farmlands, once thought to be safe, can be swallowed by the advancing floodwaters. The interconnectedness of these dams means a small failure high in the mountains can trigger devastation for a major city downstream. What starts as a remote incident can quickly become a national emergency, overwhelming urban centers and critical infrastructure. Assessing the risk of one dam is hard. Managing the risk of an entire network is monumental. Engineers must constantly monitor water levels, structural integrity, and weather forecasts, knowing that a single miscalculation could have dire consequences. A single error or overlooked weakness can set off a catastrophe. Even a minor crack or unnoticed leak can become the starting point for a disaster that quickly spirals out of control. The system is only as strong as its weakest link. If one dam fails, the entire network is at risk, and the consequences can be devastating for communities miles downstream. This is why the devastation is so widespread. Multiple failures feed a monster flood that grows as it moves. The water doesn't just stop, it keeps surging forward, engulfing everything in its path, leaving a trail of destruction that can stretch for hundreds of kilometers. Engineers and officials face a daunting challenge: prevent one failure from becoming many. They must act quickly, reinforcing vulnerable dams, coordinating emergency responses, and making split-second decisions under immense pressure. The margin for error is razor-thin. Every second counts, and the stakes couldn't be higher when the safety of entire regions hangs in the balance. In China's vast dam networks, there's no room for mistakes. The sheer scale and complexity of these systems mean that vigilance and preparedness are the only defenses against disaster. The domino effect is a disaster multiplier, and it's happening now. Each failure amplifies the next, turning what could have been a contained incident into a catastrophe of historic proportions. The consequences are almost unimaginable. Lives are upended, cities are submerged, and the scars left behind can last for generations. The domino effect of dam failures is a stark reminder of the power and peril of human engineering. Why are so many dams failing? It's a question that's becoming more urgent with every passing year, as communities around the world face the growing threat of catastrophic dam failures. The answer lies in a perfect storm of factors: aging infrastructure, poor construction practices, and the relentless impact of climate change. Many of the dams we rely on today were built decades ago, sometimes even a century back, using construction methods and materials that are now considered outdated or insufficient by modern engineering standards. After 50, 60, or even 70 years, these massive structures are reaching, or have already exceeded, the end of their intended design life. The concrete cracks, steel corrodes, and the very foundations can weaken over time. On top of that, climate change is making things worse. Storms are not only more intense, but they're also happening more frequently, dumping unprecedented amounts of water in short periods. Dams that were engineered for the weather patterns of the past simply can't cope with today's extremes. The water levels rise faster and higher than ever before, putting enormous stress on every part of the structure. Maintenance is another critical issue. Regular inspections and repairs are essential to keep dams safe, but these are expensive and often neglected, especially for smaller or privately owned dams that lack oversight. Small cracks and leaks, if left unchecked, can grow into major structural weaknesses. These hidden dangers often go unnoticed until disaster is imminent. Sediment buildup is another silent threat. As reservoirs fill with silt and debris, their capacity shrinks, causing water to rise more quickly during storms and increasing the risk of overtopping. When spillways are overwhelmed and can't release water fast enough, the pressure on the dam wall can become unbearable. The result? Catastrophic failure, with little warning. It's a slow-motion crisis, one that's been building for decades, but now it's accelerating, driven by extreme weather and years of neglect. The danger is growing every year, and it's largely invisible until it's too late. Communities downstream may have no idea they're living in the shadow of a disaster waiting to happen. Floods in the modern world bring new dangers, especially when water meets electricity. In China's recent floods, electric vehicles submerged in water have caught fire, their lithium-ion batteries sparking violent blazes. These fires are nearly impossible to extinguish and release toxic smoke, endangering residents and first responders. Solar-powered streetlights and other green infrastructure also pose risks. Their batteries can short-circuit and ignite when flooded. The very technology meant to power a cleaner future can become a hazard in a flood. Our cities weren't designed to be underwater, and the convergence of water and electricity is a vulnerability we're only beginning to understand. The lesson: modern infrastructure brings new risks in a world of extreme weather. Floods now mean more than water damage. They can spark fires and toxic hazards. The consequences are as modern as the cities themselves. Behind the headlines are millions of personal tragedies. Families wake in the night to water pouring into their homes, scrambling for safety with only minutes to spare. Entire villages are swept away. Farmers lose their land, livestock and livelihoods in a single day. In cities, people are trapped in high-rises, cut off from power, water and food, waiting for rescue. Survivors face trauma, loss, and the daunting task of rebuilding from nothing. The elderly and vulnerable suffer most, often unable to escape in time. Yet, amid the devastation, stories of heroism emerge. Neighbors forming human chains, rescue workers risking everything, ordinary citizens delivering aid by boat. These acts of courage show the resilience of the human spirit, but they also highlight the urgent need for better systems to prevent such disasters. The human cost is incalculable, and it's a cost we can't ignore. China's dam crisis is rooted in its history and geography. For centuries, taming rivers like the Yangtze and Yellow River was a national priority. Since the 1950s, China has built more dams than any other country, over 87,000 in total. The goal: flood control, hydropower, and water storage. But thousands of smaller aging dams now pose a massive risk. In mountainous regions, dams are packed close together, increasing the chance of cascading failures. The first wave of dams is reaching the end of its lifespan, just as climate change brings more extreme weather. Rapid development has put more people and assets in harm's way. The system is under unprecedented stress, and the consequences are unfolding now. China's dam network, once a symbol of progress, is now a source of peril. Preventing dam disasters is a race against uncertainty. Engineers use models and risk maps, but predictions are only as good as the data, and black swan events defy expectations. It's nearly impossible to predict when a hidden flaw or a record-breaking storm will trigger a collapse. Authorities face a dilemma: evacuate too early and risk panic, wait too long and it's too late. Managing a network of dams multiplies the challenge. One failure changes the risk for all downstream. Real-time data and constant communication are essential, but even advanced technology can't eliminate risk. Climate change makes the future even less predictable. The only certainty is uncertainty itself. Managing flood risk is a high-stakes, never-ending battle. The margin for error is vanishingly small. China is racing to respond: rescue first, then rebuild. The government is reinforcing dams, expanding spillways, and installing modern monitoring systems. Some old, high-risk dams may need to be dismantled entirely. Early warning systems are being upgraded with real-time sensors and AI to predict floods and alert the public. But the challenge goes beyond dams. Programs like Sponge City aim to make urban areas absorb rainwater, easing pressure on drainage and dams. Green spaces and wetlands are being added to cities to soak up heavy rainfall. These solutions are expensive and will take years to implement. The scale of the problem is enormous. Tens of thousands of dams, entire cities to retrofit. In the meantime, the risk remains. China must balance protecting people and the economy with managing vulnerable infrastructure in a volatile climate. The race is on to build a safer future before the next disaster strikes. China's floods are a warning to the world. Aging dams and extreme weather threaten countries everywhere, not just China. Infrastructure needs constant vigilance, investment and modernization. Build it and forget it is no longer an option. New technology like EVs and solar panels must be designed for resilience in disasters. The challenge is global. How do we manage the systems we've built in a changing world? The solution isn't just better engineering, but smarter planning and respect for nature's power. The images from China show the price of inaction. When it comes to holding back the water, we can never let our guard down.